Hey, good Tuesday evening, everyone. It is the Tuesday edition of Weather for Weather Geeks, my daily in-depth web video that really takes a deep dive into the short range and the longer range as well. Getting a lot of questions on social media and even over email about the longer range. Is winter ever coming? A lot of people who depend on some snow for their business, are really having a hard time so far this winter. And we're going to talk about the longer range coming up in just a couple of minutes. First, a review. This was our December forecast that we put out. The revised version of this came out at the very beginning of the month, and we called for a +4 in the temperature department for the month. That's a pretty big number for a month. 4 degrees above average. Well, we had the right idea as far as the overall pattern. Here are the temperature anomalies for the month so far. As you can see, it's been warm where we thought it would be warm, cool where we thought it would be cool. We just, weren't clued on totally to the intensity, the remarkable intensity of the warmth. This will be the warmest December on record in Youngstown. We're at 12.6 above average. That's a huge number for a month. And if you remember back in February, we were at -14 for that month. So we've had two extreme months this year. February on the cold side, December on the warm side. So even if we had a couple of below average days tomorrow and on Thursday, which we're not going to, this would probably still end up easily topping 1982 as the warmest December on record. By the way, of course, you may know that December of 1982 also occurred during a strong El Nino, as we have this year. So El Nino tends to, especially when it's strong, tends to exert its biggest influence on us in the winter early in the season, December, with waning effects later on in the season, and that's what we expect to transpire this year as well. All right, at about 7:30 in the evening, temperatures are above average, but cooling off. We reached 51 earlier in the morning. We're down to 41 now in Youngstown, 47 Pittsburgh, 38 in Cleveland. The last of the warmth is down here across the south. A lot of cold air out across the middle of the country and out across the Rocky Mountain states with single digits, teens, and 20s. This is coming east in a modified sense. We're not going to see the teens here, but we will see a noticeable cool down for the end of the week and heading into the weekend. It's going to come with some lake effect snow. Not a big event, but I think that some parts of northwest PA can do okay, enough to shovel, certainly. This will be starting Thursday and taking us into Friday with maybe a little respite Saturday and then a recharge on Sunday. For our viewing area, still not expecting much more than flurries out of this, but possibly enough to shovel for the I-79 corridor in northwest PA. All right, over the next couple of days. Tomorrow, a pretty uneventful day. I think we can see some sun tomorrow morning. Should be a decent-looking morning, with clouds rolling back in the afternoon. And then maybe a shower tomorrow afternoon. Don't think there's going to be much moisture, but right above my head there, just a little off-center, you can see a little bit of moisture trying to be squeezed out by the models here. This is along the leading edge of the colder air that's coming in. And as we go into New Year's Eve on Thursday, notice the lake effect starting to set up in northwest PA, southwest New York. As we ring in the new year then at midnight, Thursday night, I think it'll be uneventful other than a flurry. It's going to be cold. It'll be close to 30. Nothing unusual at all, though, for, of course, the morning of January 1st. Might see a flurry, but any more substantial lake effect snow showers likely up in Crawford County, Ashtabula County, heading up to Erie County, PA. And for New Year's Day itself, what you see is what you get. Clouds, chilly temperatures, gusty wind at times, but nothing more than flurries here locally with, again, perhaps some fingers of lake effect coming off of Lake Erie and off of Lake Ontario. As we take a look at kind of the medium range here and head into the weekend, I think that Saturday is a decent day. We're going to allow for a little more sun than we did previously. The lake effect machine probably goes off track for a day. Might be some residual snow showers up in northwest PA, but I don't think we see much at all in the way of flurries here on Saturday. And another little secondary disturbance comes down Sunday. Might bring us more clouds again, maybe a few flurries to wrap up the weekend. A lot of us head back to work and school next week on Monday, and it looks like a quiet day as high pressure drifts across the Midwest. We'll see some sun that day. Should be a pretty nice Monday with a subtle warming trend. The warmer air really kicks in, though, by the middle of next week. So by next Wednesday, we're getting into a southerly flow here, and temperatures probably try to return to the mid-40s. Not going to see the 50s or 60s next week, I don't think, but 40s are certainly on the menu for parts of midweek. Here's a look at those temperatures Let me actually let this run through, and then I'm going to move the map so that my head isn't in your way here. Temperatures over the next several days, again, a cooling trend for sure. It's going to snap back. Well, I'll make my head get out of the way so you can see this. But as we start the new year, here's a look at the first day of January 2016. Afternoon highs, cold in the Intermountain West, cold in the Midwest, and even a little chilly-ish down in the South. So the warm temperatures really get wiped out as we ring in the new year, really just reserved for central and southern Florida. And then next week, lots of cold air coming across the border and into parts of the West and the Midwest. And even around here as we go into early next week, here's Monday morning, chilly. And then as we go into the afternoon, we start to see some warmth trying to climb back in from the south for the middle of next week. So like I mentioned, we will go above average. All right, the longer range then. We've been talking about, if you watch my forecast tonight, if you're following my social media posts, middle of the month, a potential for a decent pattern change here that will lead to probably the best chance for sustained cold weather of the winter so far. And by sustained, I mean more than just a day or two. You're going to get a ridge popping up out here in the west. Here's a vortex over Hudson Bay. This is a similar pattern to what we had during our cold shots over the last couple of winters. Does this mean similar weather, really harsh, awful cold? No, not necessarily. Just maybe more typical January weather instead of the really abnormally warm stuff we've had lately. Doesn't mean snow, not necessarily either. There's a chance that the storm track stays to our south. The mountains of the Carolinas do okay, maybe the mid-Atlantic states, but doesn't look like a real snowy January for us. So some bad news there, again, if you're hoping for some snow. What are the climate models showing for February, the end of meteorological winter? A lot of warm air. Does the pattern revert back to what we've had over the last couple of months? That's possible. The climate models are also pointing towards a pretty warm January, and they're really backing off that idea. So it'll be interesting to see as we get closer to February if the model does the same thing and starts to introduce more cold air. But as it stands now, it's advertising a warm end to winter. If it has the right idea, January might be our only chance this winter of seeing any sort of substantial or sustained cold weather. So that's the way it looks right now. More updates to follow, and as always, you can follow me on social media if you don't already. Put meteorologist in front of my name to find me on Facebook. I'm Eric WFMJ on Twitter. Thanks for watching Weather for Weather Geeks, another edition online Wednesday evening, and be sure and check out my forecast tonight on 21 News at 11.